and it was a disaster. And I'm actually in the process of selling that Airbnb now. I got it under contract just a few days ago, and I plan on
Oh.
redeploying the gains from that into passive deals because actively managing that deal was awful.
And especially a high income earner, I mean, a lot of these are $100 problems. Your time is more valuable than, fixing $100 an hour problem.
The types of deals that a lot of people talked about at the conference, I would have no idea how to get access to these deals. So, without the Walk of Wealth community, even if I had $1 million in cash sitting in a vault somewhere, who am I going to give this money to, and who's going to accept it, and who's going to turn it into an actual investment for me? But with some of the other things that have come up, it's like your eyes open wide, like, man, these large multifamily deals, this is like where you just put the safe money. This is like kind of slow and steady versus some very kind of exciting things. The cash flow, and it's only been a couple of months, but it's really nice. I like to keep spreadsheets of everything. I'm very organized that way, and I can just see it creeping and growing the more that I invest.
Hi. All right, guys. Hi, my name is Dr. Johnny Walker. I'm the founder of Walk of Wealth Mastermind. And today I'm excited to be joined by Dr. Justine Barragan from Northern Virginia, DMV area. So welcome, Justin. Thank you for taking the time to do this. To kick things off, we're gonna get you to share a little bit about your background, you and your background.
Yeah, definitely. Again, yeah, I'm Justin Barrigan. I was born in Venezuela, immigrated here as a kid. Um, just kind of always was very healthcare focused, wanted to do something in healthcare, became a dentist. I'm a partner in two offices in Northern Virginia, and my big kind of goal was always to invest, become not just a dentist, but like an investor. So I started with stocks. I got into various forms of real estate. Once COVID hit, and we were shut down, I was like, I gotta find a way to make cash flow to do something that is outside the chair, outside of just stocks that take a really long time. So I got into real estate, very actively managed real estate, mostly by myself. And then that became very tiring quickly. And through one of my very good friends, who's also an endodontist, I met Johnny and got introduced to Walk of Wealth. And I would say now my investment, my main investment goal is to be as passive as possible, and creating cash flow and multiplying things at a faster rate than the market would, or a real estate investment like a single family home would.
Now, before we started working together, right? We started kind of working together in late last year, Q3, Q4 of last year, 2024. What was some of the biggest challenges that you were facing in your life or your business? How were those challenges affecting you?
Well, in terms of dentistry, I had just opened an office. I opened an office about 2 years ago. So it was still growing, just kind of early office growing pains of staffing, of getting new patients in. That kind of smoothed over. The dentistry is the steady income, the easiest thing that I do. So, unless there's a case that's complicated, or a complicated patient, or a complicated employee, that's a pretty steady state side of my working life. I was investing pretty heavily into real estate. Around, again, maybe about a year and a half ago, I purchased my third home, a single family home, and I run two duplexes. And then I thought, let's get into Airbnb. Everybody's doing Airbnb, right? I'll
Mhm.
buy a
Right.
home in the mountains, where I went to school, where I went to college, around James Madison University, and I'll get to go there. I'll have a great time. I'll make a bunch of money, and it was a disaster. And I'm actually in the process of selling that Airbnb now. I got it under contract just a few days ago, and I plan on
Nice.
redeploying the gains from that into passive deals because actively managing that deal was awful. Um, Airbnb is more like hospitality than single family homes or real estate investing, I would say. Completely different than my long-term rentals, which come with their own challenges, but those challenges are every couple months I got to call somebody to fix something versus every weekend when I want to be relaxing, I have to be dealing with some guest that wants to be babied and pampered. So yeah, I remember being at the first Walk of Wealth conference and somebody talked about the pain of running your single family homes. And I remember thinking then, like, man, should I just get rid of this Airbnb? And like
Mhm.
maybe a little under a year later, I was like, yeah, I need to get rid of it.
What made you decide that, hey, look, I want to get out? So you were talking about an active investment. What was the main pain? What were the main pain points that said, hey, look, I'm done with this. I need to get passive streams of income. What would you say the biggest pain point is of owning that real estate, the actively managed, especially the labor intensive Airbnb?
With single family homes, I've bought homes that needed a lot of work so I could create a lot of equity.
Mhm.
And I think that's the way to do it. But man, when you get into that by yourself, especially on my first couple deals, like finding contractors is really hard. Managing contractors is really hard. Permit process was a nightmare during COVID. Even though those deals were slam dunks for me in terms of what they've appreciated to and the
Mhm.
interest rates that I got them in, they were great timing wise. Man, try to get a permit in 2021 was
Oh.
brutal to get anybody on the phone, dealing with tenants and finding tenants, evicting people. I've had to evict somebody, and that was a nightmare. Airbnb, finding cleaners, finding somebody to work on something in a couple of hours on a Friday or Saturday when most people are occupying it in the mountains of Shenandoah Valley is tough, So it's just a lot of being on the phone when you don't want to be on the phone.
Mhm.
You're relaxed doing something and you get a call and it's all right, let me drop everything and go and fix this problem.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that got old pretty quick.
Yeah. And especially a high income earner. I mean, a lot of these are $100 problems. Your time is more valuable than, fixing $100 an hour problem, right? So, yeah, so I'm definitely empathetic about you there on that. Now, so I guess this was a specific, was that would you say that was a specific moment when you realized something had to change with your investment strategy, with the way that you were doing currently, or at that time, I should say?
I think my plan was to continue with single family homes, trying to buy one home a year. But the first thing is, even when you crush a single family home and convert it into a duplex and you're cash flowing, at the end of the day, I'm making a couple $100 a month, maybe up to a grand when things are going really good. And one problem wipes it all out.
Yep.
One HVAC unit and you're done. One major plumbing issue and a major plumbing fix. Both things that have happened to me. So your cash flow on these smaller, more actively managed deals can be gone at a moment's notice, first and foremost. And that happened to me multiple times.
Yep.
Two, like you're saying, the time value of money is something that I realized, you know, this is not worth my time. I'm not just my time, I'm somebody that I think I'm a very hard worker and my whole life I've been okay with sacrificing time and putting forth effort. But man, when you're putting forth that effort and you're not really seeing a return, that's brutal.
Mhm.
That is mentally exhausting. And I think the Airbnb plus managing, these other units got to the point where I was just like, I'm willing to try something else, And I do believe in the power of learning from people who have done what you want to do. So I knew that I had to go out and kind of take a chance in meeting people who have done bigger deals and more passive things that make more money. And you got
Less
to go
effort.
kind of opportunities. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Well said. Well said. Um, all right. So now let's switch over now. So you kind of came to the summit last year and you kind of heard about what we were doing at the Walk of Wealth and all of that. And then we introduced, hey, look, we're going to be having this coaching program, this mastermind group. Um, and, what were you most worried about before joining? Like, was there a fear that almost stopped you from joining, or was this something like you saw it and you're like, hey, look, this is exactly what I'm looking for? Like, what would you say if there was a fear that stopped you from joining? What was it?
So first of all, I didn't even know that there was a mastermind group when I went to the summit. I just thought it was just kind of, meet and greets and learn things. And then I found out there that there was a mastermind group, and there's definitely a lot of fears involved, because you're putting money up to to get an opportunity. So you're buying into an opportunity. So there's nothing immediately tangible that I am receiving. So in the beginning, for me, it's a lot of faith.
Hmm.
You're putting a lot of faith into a new system. So I think that was very scary in the beginning. I did get a lot of value, and I did talk to a lot of people who are doing things that I want to do. And you don't know this, Johnny, but something that actually kind of really pushed me towards the mastermind was we got to hang out a little bit afterward, and we hung out with a lot of your friends from dental school. And I remember talking, you weren't there, but I remember talking with them, and somebody asked them about you in dental school. And all these people, to a man or a woman, every single one of them talked about how you're the same guy. How you are now, you were the same guy then. So when your closest friends and people that you've known for a long time talk about you like that, I put a lot of faith. I put a lot of faith in that because they don't have to do that. They don't have to be there, and they don't have to talk about you that way. So that's something that kind of pushed me into thinking, okay, this guy has a lot of people who say he's been the same hardworking networker type of dude for a very long time. I'm willing to put my money and see what I'm going to get out of this and put faith in this guy.
All right, so yeah, I mean, you did, and you did take the step forward. And I appreciate that you did, and you had the faith to do that. I didn't. I'm glad that you had these conversations about with my peers that I've known for more than 20 years now. We actually just had graduated in 2005 from some of these people, so now it's 2025. We're 20 years post graduation, which really dates me. But yeah, so now you made a substantial investment to join this mastermind group. All right. And so so there was a fear. Hey, is this guy really worth it? Is he trustable? Am I going to get value? A significant amount of money. So, no, I appreciate you sharing that. Now, now you've joined it. Now you're one of our star members here because you've taken massive action. Now, when you finally decided, like, hey, look, I'm going to move forward, what finally made, I guess you kind of answered it. Maybe this is still your same answer. What finally made you decide to join the Walk of Wealth Mastermind group? And was there a turning point where you said to yourself, hey, look, I can't keep doing this alone?
Yeah, well, just to kind of give a kind of a tangent on what I've already said, the types of deals that a lot of people talked about at the conference, I would have no idea how to get access to these deals. So without the Walk of Wealth community, even if I had $1 million in cash sitting in a vault somewhere, who am I going to give this money to, and who's going to accept it, and who's going to turn it into an actual investment for me. You know, I can go put that money into CDs, into the market, and with a broker somewhere. But how am I going to put it in oil and gas or a triple net lease deal or, the paving company or, the storage facilities without access to those people? So, you know, in my real estate education through just kind of reading a lot of books, so many people talk about like you have to network, you have to go to conferences, you have to join masterminds. And I never, I thought, yeah, if the opportunity comes, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll see what that's like. But if you try to do it by yourself, as I tried to do it, man, maybe you'll get there, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be very difficult. The lessons are going to be very hard and very expensive. So Walk of Wealth, I saw it as a way to like, hey, I can fast track access to deals and higher rates of return and higher cash flow.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, I also went at it alone at the beginning. I realized the power of network. This is why we brought this community together. And one of the things about our mastermind group is, like you said, is access. It's not just, hey, look, here's how you do it. This is all education, coaching. Now go do it. It's, hey, look, we are bringing access to the very type of investments that we talk about. So yeah, and like you said, like you've been, we're going to actually get into this now. So like you said, so it's access to deals and investment opportunities and not going at it alone, right? With a network of other people that are like-minded, other experts, coaches, etc. Now, like you said, you were a guy that's been well immersed in this community. Now, looking back, you've only been here 8 months, right? What would you say? What surprised you? I mean, the mastermind group. You've been here since the inception of the mastermind group. What surprised you the most about the community, the support or the insights you've gained in the mastermind?
There's just a lot of different types of people that have come on and talked. And it's things that I wouldn't know about, people who I wouldn't normally talk to. You hear people who have built these very large things and had very big exits, and they're doing different projects now, or different ways of kind of structuring things. I try to make every meeting because I try to get something out of every conversation. Even if it's not like, something that I can go and apply and turn into dollars. It's like, okay, well, I know this exists now. So I could have a more intelligent conversation if it were to come up in any other, kind of part of my life or something like that. But so far, it's been very varied. It's been very, very, very wide in terms of like what's been discussed. The deals that have come up are quite different. I thought it would primarily be like large multifamily deals is what I was expecting, and it's been far from that. I think really only one of the deals has been large multifamily that since I've been in.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought large multifamily deals sounded incredible. They sounded incredible to me. Maybe 3 to 5 years and you double your money and you're making some cash flow every month. But with some of the other things that have come up, it's like your eyes open wide, like, man, these large multifamily deals, this is like where you just put the safe money. This is like kind of slow and steady versus some very kind of exciting things that I like to put a lot of chips in and kind of go big or go home. So that's been nice too.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, to speak to what you've done, I mean, you've done some multifamily real estate, but we look at all types of different alternative assets and other types of commercial real estate, and sometimes, based on the cycle and where we are in the cycle, different type of asset classes are gonna kind of come to the forefront as, more lucrative based on where they are on their individual cycles. So, you've invested in other types in oil and gas, you've invested in private equity deals. You've invested in self-storage deals. all of which are cash flowing, and now you've created, these, actually, I'm not even sure. I want to ask you that. So now, yeah, so you've got access to deals, you've participated in many deals, all as a passive investor. Now, how has being part of this Walk of Wealth mastermind transformed your financial situation? Can you give us a real world example of new passive income streams you've created? Or, let's talk about that first, and then, we'll talk about maybe if you've saved any money in taxes. So, let's talk about your financial situation. Now, since you've joined the mastermind group, give us a real world example. How many new passive income streams have you created now for yourself?
Yeah, I think I've invested in four deals, maybe five, four, definitely four.
Yep.
The most lucrative cash flow wise is definitely oil and gas by far. That is a very, very sexy deal. It's great to
Hmm.
see that paycheck hit.
Yep.
That is true, real deal cash flow in your account every month. It might be. I think about soon here. My wife will. We're gonna try for a kid, and she might go reduce schedule at her law firm. And I'm thinking in my head, well, you know what? With this cash flow that we're getting from these oil and gas deals, is not really like we're gonna be missing much. And I'm thinking far out, cash flow wise, not just in this deal, but other deals. How much do I have to invest every month so that I can replace half of my income? Small multifamily, it would have taken me 50 houses, or 100 houses. Who God
Hmm.
knows, duplexes at least. I would have had to go get a couple of hotels or something.
Yep.
Uh,
Full-time job. And then you got a new full-time job.
and that's a whole nother job. But
Yep.
the cash flow, and it's only been a couple of months, but it's really nice. I like to keep spreadsheets of everything. I'm very organized that way, and I can just see it creeping and growing the more that I invest. So it definitely makes me, like I'm saying, why am I holding on to this Airbnb when I can sell this and I can turn this into real cash flow with no
Mhm.
headaches?
Yeah.
So the cash flow has been great. Some of these, like the private equity deal, I'm excited about hopefully large exits. That's another exciting thing is, multiplying the money much faster than you would in, say, something like the stock market.
Yep.
Instead of doubling
Yep.
in 7 years, can I make it 10x in five? Those types of things are very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I agreed. Yeah. We'll keep going. Sorry.
No, so yeah, basically just the cash flow has been great. I think another thing, as somebody who's just getting into this type of investing, I had to have a lot of faith and patience because you invest in the deals and nothing happens for some time. And
Hmm.
you're wondering, oh man, where's my money? What's going on? But it's really nice when you start
It
seeing
starts.
the paycheck come in, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. So it sounds like I think you have at least four streams of income, right? And you've just joined the mastermind group, which is amazing. And yeah, I think you did another deal this year. That one's yet to start cash flowing. Now, what about taxes? Have you saved any money in taxes?
Yeah, so the oil and gas deal was like a solid 85 grand or
It's actually
so,
90% depreciation is going to be. So yeah, so ends up at 90%. Yeah.
on a 100 grand investment, 90 grand depreciated right off my W-2 income, waiting on some other K1s to come in. But yeah, the tax savings that's a whole nother ball game of, making money by not losing money. And there's so many different strategies that I wouldn't have been aware of. I would have never thought I would have invested in an oil well, and I would have never thought that the cash flow would have been so great. And then on top of that, the tax savings could potentially take somebody from one bracket to the next.
Yeah.
It's real deal tax savings, through these investments.
Amazing. Yeah. Now, you've talked a lot about the money, right? Like now, beyond just money, how has your lifestyle changed since joining? Now, you alluded to you're looking to start a family and have children, and your wife who has a very good profession as an attorney, but you're already thinking about lifestyle changes if you have a baby. And it looks like, this investing is going to be a lot part of it. Like, how has your lifestyle changed since joining? And has it impacted your stress levels at all, your time with your family, or even just your outlook on the future?
Man, I think just exposing myself to individuals who have done what I want to do in terms of investing. We were just talking about taking time off during the week, taking a day off during the week, and how nice that is, right? So I think that's something that I wanted to work to before, but you can't really do that unless you want to make less money. Um, and this is a real way that creating cash flow, I don't have to be in the dental chair. My wife doesn't have to be, you know, 100% working in corporate law where the hours are insane. So it's not something overnight, but it does create this drive to work very hard, to invest very wisely and create more cash flow because I'm looking at it as how much cash flow can I create in the next 10 years? I'm relatively young. I don't have a family yet, but I'd like to spend a lot of time with them when I do. And using W-2 money to buy cash flow buys freedom, right? It buys time. It buys time off. So I'd love to take time off during the week. I love to travel. I'm traveling a lot. I don't necessarily get paid when I travel. My office is still functioning. The associates are still making money, but it's not like, I'm not getting that money into my account immediately. But with cash flow, it is. I can expect something, I can take 2 weeks off and not think about it. So
So,
yeah, the
yeah, so
horizon is
now,
great.
yeah, so now your practice is going great. And now the fact that you're figuring out ways to create streams of income and create income outside of your practice, how does that change the outlook, how your outlook on the future?
I think I just see more time off, more time with family, more time doing what I want to do, versus doing the grinding of dentistry, which the dental work, I like dental work. I like being in the chair. I love surgery. I like doing cosmetics. I like certain aspects of dentistry don't feel like work to me, but there's a lot of my day to day that does feel like work. So, not working and getting a return on your money, that's a great feeling. That is, in my opinion, real freedom.
It gives you that work optionality, right? Like that's I think that's a better way, especially for you. You still enjoy the clinical practice, you enjoy serving your patients, but it's, hey, I have the option to not do this if I really don't want to do it, right? I think yeah,
Right.
that's well said there. Now the last question here, if you could go back in time, what would you say to the version of yourself who was on the fence about joining? What do you wish that you knew back then?
Man, I wish I knew just how real it was. It's real access, it's real deals, it's real knowledge, it's real information. The returns are real, the investment's real. So, but before you take the leap, before I took the leap, it all it's kind of this fairy tale of like these other people do it. I don't know how. I don't know if that's gonna be me. But yeah, I would tell myself, don't put that money over there. Don't put that money in that other investment. Just put it in this and wait so that you can put even more into these deals.
And then what would you say? if there was like one main thing that you knew, wish you knew back then, what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I think that one, it takes patience. There's not it's not like there's a good deal every day. It's not like you step in and it's like, well, pick from the menu of things that are going to generate a lot of income from you. There's a lot of due diligence that has to be done. Um, and then after you invest, there's a little bit of time that happens before you start seeing a return. So I wish I would have known that a little bit more because I think that would have calmed my worries of like, okay, I've deployed a lot of capital. When is this capital coming back? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
I think that's a worry being somebody that just got into this type of, accredited investing.
Yep. Yep. Very, very well said. All right. So, thank you so much, Justin, for sharing your story and your journey. It's always inspiring to hear about this incredible transformation that's happening within our community. And if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, maybe you're grinding away at your practice, right? Feeling like you have no way out, or you're worried about, you make good money, but you're really not sure about the future, right? You have financial uncertainty. It doesn't have to be this way. So click the link below and let's talk about how the Walk of Wealth Mastermind can help you create the financial freedom that you deserve.